I'm David Knight here in studio. You just heard in the last segment we had Alex Jones speaking at the America First Unity Rally at Cleveland, part of the RNC coverage that we have there. He's now trending on Twitter, by the way. It's kind of interesting. I was just told that from Mikhail, one of our writers. Noticed that Alex is trending after the speech there at the America First Unity Rally. And again, if you have seen the banners that we were flying the end of last week, you know, they shut down, they made it a no-fly zone. We're going to fly Hillary for Prison banners, just like the T-shirt design. And, of course, you can still get that at InfoWarsStore.com, the Hillary for Prison T-shirt. We took that same design, and we put it on a banner to be flown behind a plane, and we'd scheduled it for the convention itself. They made it a no-fly zone, so we flew it last week and got a lot of coverage because there were a lot of delegates that were going there early, as well as the press that were going there. So we still do it. We've got other tricks up our sleeve for the conventions to get our message out as well. And we appreciate your support. Your support buying Hillary for Prison T-shirts, as well as the other products that we sell. That is what funds our operation. That's what allows us to go to cover the RNC. We'll cover the DNC next week. And as an appreciation, we've offered DNA Force 25% off. That is our premier product, our most expensive product, because of the Bio-PQQ compound. It's $30,000 per batch to add this, but we go to that trouble because it is such an effective compound. There's 175 clinical studies. It's extremely hard to secure, and in this form that we get it, it's only really one supplier out of Japan that has it in a pure form. That's why it is so expensive. You can read those clinical studies. You can read reviews that people have put on our site talking about what it has done for them. And you can get 25% off of DNA Force, and it's not going to last much longer before it sells out, before that special comes down. So take advantage of that right now. That's a huge savings for DNA Force, 25% off our most expensive product that we have at InfoWarsLife.com. We're going to be going back to the Unity Rally here in just a few moments. We're going to have Roger Stone is going to be speaking there. Before we do, I was just talking about some of the problems and the hypocrisy within the Republican Party. The fact that we have Paul Ryan, who has been open borders forever, not just with Obama, but even way before Obama. He's been pushing open borders. Now that he is sinking in popularity before his primary coming up first week of August, he's now flooding his district with mailers talking about how he is going to be strong on border security. Right. Don't fall for that. People in that district and people across the country, we really should have a concerted effort to try to get his opponent, Paul Nehlen, I think, is his opponent. He is someone who is opposed to open borders. His opponent is. His opponent is also opposed to the trade treaties that Paul Ryan has run through. Paul Ryan was part of the process to throw out the constitutional requirements for ratifying a treaty. That was the TPA. They're going to have these treaties that were negotiated and written in secret by corporate lawyers are going to be run through both houses of Congress. That's not a requirement for passing a treaty. It's supposed to be 2/3 of the Senate. They couldn't get that. So they went with a simple majority of the two houses. They shut down all amendments, all debates, all filibusters. It's going to be introduced without any obstruction whatsoever in the legislative process. They've completely shut down the Constitution and the legislative process. Anybody who supported TPA has supported a violation of the Constitution. It's just that simple. Even if you agree with free trade, can't you see how they are subverting and throwing out the Constitution? Meanwhile, we got the GOP Senate pushing for $500 million for Obama's climate fund. These are the problems that we're faced with, even within the GOP, especially within the GOP leadership. That's why Paul Ryan needs to go. Stay with us. We're going to be back with more live reports from Cleveland and the RNC. Welcome back to the Alex Jones Show. I'm David Knight. We're going to be joining our reporters in Cleveland in this hour. Before we do, I want to give you some other news outside of the Republican convention. We have news that, this is via the Drudge Report, 123,000 Venezuelans are crossing the border looking for food. See, I guess they're running out of dogs and cats to hunt down in the streets. That's the fruit of government-controlled economies. What Bernie Sanders and Hillary Clinton are selling us. What many in the Republican Party are selling us. It's not what Donald Trump is selling us at this time. Hopefully he will not try to sell that to us. But look, you have to understand, and I've pointed this out, Bernie Sanders, even though he opposed the trade treaty, That was the Trans-Pacific Trade Treaty when he was running. But of course, now he has fallen in line behind Hillary Clinton and Goldman Sachs and the rest of them. He has basically betrayed all of those principles. But at the same time, he was right on some issues like that and some of the civil liberties issues. He was also a thoroughly unreconstructed socialist, somebody who still had not realized what was going on in Central and South America. He had not learned anything in 30 to 40 years. He had gone down to Nicaragua. He had praised the Sandinistas and that revolution down there. And he still could not bring himself to see the fruit of government command control economies. The idea that they can give you things for free. No, they can't. Eventually, what happens is you run out of other people's money, as Margaret Thatcher pointed out. And they have long since run out of other people's money in Venezuela. It happens in these poorer countries more quickly than it does in European countries because they don't start with as much wealth to begin with. Now, what's happening there, reported by the AP, is that, again, over 100,000 Venezuelans, I estimate about 123,000, some of whom drove through the night in caravans, crossed into Colombia over the weekend to hunt for food and for medicine that was in short supply at home. This is not anything that's new either. We reported about 3 years ago, in 2013, it was Bloomberg bragging about the fact, the Wall Street Bloomberg bankers were bragging about the fact that Hugo Chavez's successor, his socialist successor, understood that the banks came first. The banks came before food, before water, before medicine for the people of Venezuela. And they said, it still remains a really good deal for us to invest in Venezuela. We've gotten about 700% return on investment because these guys put us first. So you have to understand that Wall Street and the people's governments of these socialist countries, the people's governments like Bernie Sanders and even Elizabeth Warren, they are not polar opposites of each other. They're quite comfortable working hand in glove with each other. They also go on to point out that Venezuela's government closed all crossings a year ago in order to crack down, as they put it, on smuggling along the border with Colombia. They said it complained that speculators were causing shortages by buying up subsidized food and gasoline in Venezuela, taking them to Colombia where they could be sold for far higher prices. Yeah, well, that hasn't been the case for quite some time, because for quite some time, for at least 3 years, even before they closed the border, they had food, water, and medicine shortages. So it's simply a lie by the Venezuelan communists, as we see happening over and over again. Meanwhile, our government continues to lie to us. This is another story that's up on the Drudge Report about genetically modified food. This is what we've been telling you for a very long time. Americans are buying gene-edited food that is not labeled GMO. You understand, of course, that when we talk about something being genetically modified, and I still think that there's a lot of people in the American public that don't understand the difference between selective breeding and transgenic modification, where they go in and they actually edit the genes, splicing in completely different animals, or splicing in plant genes into animals or animal genes into plants, even mixing across the plant and animal kingdoms, creating these kind of Frankenstein monsters. But of course, both the Republicans and the Democrats have given us the DARK Act, which says that you're not going to be allowed to have labeling laws in your state, in your local area, so that you can know what's in your food. Of course, they're deceiving you, and they even brag about it. Stay with us. We're going to be right back with more reports from Cleveland. Welcome back to the Alex Jones Show. I'm David Knight here in Austin. Of course, our crew and Alex Jones are at the convention at the RNC convention in Cleveland. Today, there has been the America First rally. It's going on right now, the Unity rally. We heard Alex Jones speak earlier. Right now, we have Roger Stone speaking at the rally. We're going to pick up that audio live. Here's Roger Stone speaking at the Unity rally in Cleveland.
Real fundamental change to America. And in Mike Pence, we have a man who understands the role of the vice presidential candidate. It's a supporting role. It's a role to support the man at the top and his agenda. And the number one agenda, other than dealing with terrorism in this country, is to rebuild the prosperity and opportunity of the American people. Mike Pence is a job creator. Donald Trump is a job creator. Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton think jobs are created by the federal government. And they will foster policies that have killed jobs in America. NAFTA, TPP, these phony globalist trade deals that have sucked the jobs and the spirit from the American people. It is my great honor to have been preceded today by my friend Alex Jones. And as I told CNN this morning, better Alex Jones than his cousin Van Jones. Folks, I'm a giant fan of Infowars.com, and I see so many Hillary for Prison t-shirts out there. And I am just honored to be here with so many patriots. I want to say a special word about Tim Salati Sr. and Kathleen Flaherty and the good folks at Citizens for Trump who had to go to federal court to knock down the gag rules to suspend our free speech rights. They didn't want us here today. And they still don't. And the Democratic machine, you can look across Cleveland, take a look at the factories. They're closed. They're out of business. This is the legacy of Democratic leadership in this country. Now, I'd be remiss if I didn't say a few words about Hillary Clinton.
Of course, this is the Unity Rally. This is Roger Stone speaking in Cleveland.
The Hillary Clinton you see on TV is not the real Hillary Clinton. Hillary Clinton is a short-tempered, foul-mouthed, greedy, bipolar, mentally unbalanced criminal. Now, in the 1980s, when we had only ABC and NBC and CBS, you could suppress the truth from the American people. Today, we have the internet. We have talk radio. We have cable TV. We have Matt Drudge. We have truth tellers. And therefore, the truth can no longer be suppressed. And the American people do not know the facts about the Clintons. They don't remember Travelgate, where Hillary had veteran public servants arrested so she could give the travel business to her cronies in Arkansas and then lied under oath about it. They don't know about Vince Foster. They told us that he died in Fort Marcy Park, and his body was found 50 yards down a muddy trail. But there was no mud or dirt on his shoes. How do we know this? The FBI toxicology report. But there was carpet fiber all over his body. That's because they rolled him in a carpet. Hillary Clinton ordered that a guy named Sullivan and a guy named Kennedy, her hoodlums, her thugs, move his body because she feared that his office at the old executive office building where his death occurred would become a crime scene, and where the most sensitive papers that would prove the criminality of the Clintons would be subject to federal investigators.
And that's Roger Stone, and he's laying it out. And, of course, he wrote the book on Hillary Clinton's crimes as well as the crimes of the Bush family. We sell that at Infowars.com. That's Roger Stone speaking at the America First Unity Rally in Cleveland, Ohio. You heard Alex Jones speaking earlier, exercising our First Amendment rights. And as Roger Stone was just saying, they got away with a lot of this before because there wasn't an internet to fact check them on. People couldn't research this stuff. And I thought it was interesting a couple of weeks ago when there was yet another case that paralleled exactly what was happening 20 years ago when Bill Clinton was running for re-election as president. And you had the Democrat National Committee as well as the Clintons involved in selling favors to Chinese businessmen and the Chinese government. And, of course, all those people, the Chinese people involved, Charlie Tree, many of them have now been involved in another scandal exactly 20 years later, exactly the same type of thing happening. And in the past, when Charlie Tree and these others turned state's evidence, as you would usually see that happening, turning the lower people and giving them immunity so that they would testify so that you get the bigger fish moving up the top. That works. That's the way it works always, except when it comes to the Clintons. And what we saw 20 years ago, they gave Charlie Tree immunity. He said, yeah, I sold influence. I bought influence from them. They were selling it to me and so forth and so on. They said, okay, fine, thanks for letting us know. You're free to go, and no crimes against the Clintons. And that's what we're seeing now again. And it was interesting, as Roger Stone was talking about Vince Foster,